Yet the other reason why I'm passionate about teams is because of the fact that it's one of those topics really goes back into leadership. And this is another topic that we really don't talk or train to. When you think about leadership, you think about in order to run a team, you have to be a leader. But when was the last time anyone on this call went to a leadership training specifically about leadership? And that's another reason why I'm really passionate about teams. And the final reason is because of the fact that teams can be something that changes your life in a great way. And it also can carry tremendous amounts of pitfalls as well, which can sort of hold you back. So there's all these things around teams that really speak to me and my passions and what I love talking about. But I really wanted to make this not just a call where you guys are listening to me. I really want to make it sort of interactive. So to start us out, my favorite question is why? Why do you want a team? And if you don't have an understanding of why you have a team or why you want to build a team or whatever it might be, what happens is you just start going forward. And typically we start becoming, I don't know the best way to put it, but sort of like a house for stray dogs, so to speak. I'm not saying that in a negative way, but all of a sudden you just start acquiring agents and like your friend calls you and like, hey, I got my license. Can I be on your team? You're like, sure. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you're 10 people that are clamoring at you for your time. So the biggest thing to talk about is why. So in the chat right now, if you guys don't mind, let's add why do you have a team or why do you want to build a team? And let's get this like as a very, very interactive. And you guys, if anyone knows me, you know, I like to call on people. So everyone on here. And Stacey, let's mute everyone and then I'll unmute. And that way we got a nice cool.
Okay, so guys, mute yourselves. Let me see.
You should be the master, Stacey.
Yeah, I should be the master. I mute everybody all the time.
Bottom right, maybe is there a mute all? You know, if not, it's no big deal.
I'm gonna go through and mute everybody. Mute yourselves, guys. Yeah, because that way there won't be background.
Yeah, it's all good. All right. Let's see. Melissa, I built to help people avoid going through the shit that I went through in the beginning. Melissa, do you mind unmuting for a second?
Not a problem.
All right. So your response, why I built a team. I built it to help people avoid going through the shit that I went through in the beginning. Love the response. Now, Melissa, that's a beautiful and very philanthropic
and
goal.
Stupid.
No, it's not stupid. It's very common. But I just want to highlight this, that a lot of us start building teams because we love helping people.
Yep.
Now, Melissa, do you get a 1099 at the end of the year?
1099? Actually, yeah, I do.
or you have an LLC or whatever, right? It's like you're running a business.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, then one of the biggest things to be aware of is your why. And Melissa, your why of helping people is a beautiful, noble thing. My question to you is it helping you run a business as well? And the answer could be yes or no, but in your opinion, as you're building this thing, you're helping all these people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that actually helping your actual business?
Haven't seen it yet.
Okay. And so if you don't mind, let's like unravel this. Right? Just so you guys know, we did not rehearse this.
No.
So when you say you didn't see it yet, give us more on what you mean by that.
So for me, I didn't realize that it was going to be a player coach situation. Like I never really took that into account. Every time I've ever coached anything, it's always been, I've been the coach, not the player.
Yeah.
So but I didn't take that into account when I was saying, okay, I have new people who wanted to get in the business. My old assistant got her license and she wanted to become a full-time agent. And I did not take into account the hand-holding, the lack of doubling down on things yeah. I mean, so no, so if you're looking at, and I already had coverage built in, I've already had people cover my vacations for years.
Yeah.
So, and did I think, and was, you know what, I shouldn't say no. That was an improvement because at least everybody's in business tracker and everybody could see what I was doing. So when I do go away, you can see it.
Yep. So Melissa, and I'm going to challenge you in many ways because of the fact that as you started talking this out, like you had this why in your mind of really helping people, which is beautiful. And I guarantee if you have that, if you love helping people, and that's one of the reasons why you're starting a team, just put the word me in the chat so Melissa doesn't feel bad. I bet 90% of the people on this call are going to say me, right? Because of the fact that's something we love to do. That's why you're such a beautiful and amazing realtor. However, the one thing we got to keep in mind is that your commodity is time. And when you are spending your time in teaching someone the basics of the business, once again, very noble. The question you have to be thinking of is, what is my return of my investment? And is it worth it? And let me see. I think I'm going to actually share. Stacy, can you give me permission to share my screen by any chance? I'm gonna give you guys a little preview of. I'm not going to give you the full presentation.
You should have gotten it, Skye.
Yep, I'm good.
Can you do it? Okay.
Yep. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a preview of a presentation I did down in Dallas. And sorry, let me move that. And when you guys start thinking of a team, these are the 4 pillars of a team. So if you want, I'll back up. The first thing you got to get really, really clear on why you want to have a team. And when you create your why, you really can't just go off of like, I want to help people. That's sort of a basic. Go to the second why. It's almost the equivalent of walking into a listing presentation and saying, hey, we're going to put it out right up front. The highest sale price is our goal. All right, what's the second goal of this process, right? Because people's second goal usually is like, oh, I want to get into a school district. I want to downsize. Right? The second goal is the real goal, but every seller is going to say, well, my primary goal is sell it for a highest price. Every team leader, when you're starting out, is going to say, I want to help people. So my second question in the chat is put your second goal. So Melissa, right now, let's list out your second why. And my challenge to everyone is usually that after we get the sort of philanthropic, like, hey, this is like a feel-good thing, usually your second one is where we come back into play. And maybe it's, I want to create more time for myself. I want to make more money, et cetera. But we've got to get very, very clear around our why. Why do we have a team? Because if we don't have clarity around the why and what we're doing, every decision we make after that gets very, very challenging, because then we're just sort of throwing darts out there in the dark. Once I get really clear on my why, so I'll use myself as a very good example. As I was building my team, it started out as my Real Estate with Heart was the name of the team. My why was, my primary why was I wanted to care about people. And I wanted to care about my clients. I wanted to care about my team members, the people who work for me. However, as I started building it, and as I got a little more clarity, I realized that my why was really, I wanted to be able to make more money and create more time, because I had a major life decision coming my way, which was I was making the decision to get divorced. So I knew I did not have the ability to run out, and I was adamant, we were going to be co-parents and 50-50, et cetera. So I knew I was not going to have the ability to run out and, be out, listing homes and showing homes, et cetera. So I knew I had to create a situation where I could make the same or more money and have a lot more time and control of my schedule. And that was my second reason of creating the team, is because of the fact, and as it started to grow, that was the driving force behind it. So for everyone on this call, you got to get very, very clear on the why. And it may not be clear right away. This is something you always have to be working on, but you really got to make sure that why forms the bedrock. Or imagine if we're building a house, this is the foundation that your team is laid upon. Then what we start doing is we start building the 4 walls of the house. The 4 walls of any team, the 4 pillars of a team. Number 1 is culture. What is the culture of our team? Now, this is usually a simple thing for most realtors to understand. And categories included in culture would be, how do we do it? How do we meet as a team? Is it weekly? Is it biweekly? Once a month? How do we lead generate? How do we do, our events? How do we market, et cetera? There's all kinds of things under culture. So that's one wall or pillar. The second wall or pillar is systems. How do we operate as a team within our systems? And another common pitfall of teams is that you fall into a situation where everyone is doing different systems. And by systems, I mean buyer lead generation, seller lead generation, listing a home, meeting with a buyer, showing properties, putting an offer in, et cetera. And usually, because we're all business owners, we're coming together and you're putting people on your team, you have all these different ways of doing things. And really great teams develop systems that they do things systematically the same way. And that creates efficiency. So that's a second pillar. The third pillar is structure. And this is another really hard thing because you guys, all my 6 yammers on the call, you know, the favorite quote of mine is comparison is a thief of joy. Most of us learn about teams by looking on Instagram and seeing photos of teams doing things and saying, ooh, that's what I want to be. That's how we learn about the structures of a team. So, and there's a lot of shame involved in how we talk about teams as well. I'll get into that in a second. And the final wall is profit. If we are running businesses, we have to be aware of our profit. How much per agent are you earning? So if you have a team member, and Melissa and anyone on this call that has teams, if you are not aware of how much per agent you're earning, of your total profit, your P&L, right? You're not really running a good business. You have to be very, very crystal clear on profit. So these 4 pillars make up the wall or the foundation, you have the foundation. And then you have the 4 pillars which form the team. And then you build your team on top of that. So what I'm trying to give you is a very quick and easy visual of a team and how it's built, right? And as you're building this team out, all 4, there's not one that's more important than another. You can't work on all 4 at the same time, but you need to be building all 4 pillars, and these need to be balanced. Because if you're really, really great in culture, so for example, your team has a great time and you go out to dinner all the time, you have great lifestyle photos and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not making any money, well, you're not really running a business. So if you're making a lot of money, but your team is constantly in and out, team members are coming and going, and your culture is really weak, once again, you're really not running a great team or business. And then, yeah, so you guys hopefully get the sense. So let me pause there, and actually I'm going to stop sharing. And let me just pause and open it up for some questions. Because I threw a lot at, or Francie, what is your thoughts on everything?
Yeah, look at her dancing because she's got this. Like she doesn't even have to listen.
Someone said coffee when I got on, so I got a cup of coffee. So I'm like, ah! Good morning, Skye. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And again, thank you for coming, and thank you to Tony and Stacy, because as someone who puts together things, the fact that you show up every week and bring us great content, we really all should be clapping for you guys too. So thank you. And so when I joined Compass, I came from a 1990s brokerage, and they didn't believe in teams because they made less money on them. But I did have sort of a loose structure. But when I got here, I sat down in New York City because there was no Westchester. And I said, oh, I'm never going to have more than 3 people, and I'm never going to do this. Now I'm a team of 9 with the team manager who literally changed our world, and 8 producing agents. And really the reason for me was out of necessity. There's just 2 things about me. I'm an agent by choice, not by chance. And it is inherent that I care about every person that is in front of us and every transaction I do. So real estate's a bucket. You start filling it with that. And usually if you chase reviews, not commissions, they come back to you. And we have been very, very fortunate. Most of our clients rehire us. Most of our clients refer us their friends. So the bucket became a tub, and then it became a storage facility. And at some point, either you're going to hire a ton of staff or you have to have more agents. So I became a team really out of necessity. Best thing I ever did in my life. And I make much more money and have much more time as a result. My team is amazing. And if you're on it, it's also inherent that you care about your client and that you're an agent by choice and you work full time or to the extent that you can. And you do this every day. This is a career. Also, hiring that team manager changed my life. He really is the backbone for everybody's business. He works for everybody, and he put in structures and processes that just make our life so easy. And combining with Compass, because the Compass tools make it so easy, everything we do, every step of our day is systematized, from every step of the transaction, even to the point of like, congratulations, you have an AO, here's your resources, congratulations, you're in contract, here's your next steps, all systematized. And Trevor, our team manager, really is in the background, making sure that that goes to everybody all along the way. Even our branding and our gifts are all systematized. Gifting is March and September. The lists are systematized. You're added to the list as soon as you close, or etc. So it's changed our life. At the 1990s brokerage, everything we had to do took 3 weeks, and it was impossible to do. Everything we do at Compass takes 4 seconds. So there's no excuse not to do it. So I'm so thankful. I mean, I think about what transpired to get me here. It was a developer firing my former brokerage. It changed my life, and this team has changed my life, and we've created careers for 8 other people, but who are also very successful and very invested. So I think what happens is you get to a point where you say, what got me here isn't going to get me there. So what I had to do is change from a me to a we. And everybody on the team has to change to a me to a we too. And I sometimes hear the agents on the team, sometimes they'll say, my client, and then they'll go, our client. Every client is a team client. When you work with the Francie, when you work on the Francie and Malina team, all of our clients are your clients. And when you have a client, it belongs to the team as well. So, and that was a really important change that we didn't get too easily, but we're really all in tune with that. And it's hard. A lot of team leaders, especially, it's a lot of ego. You have to put your ego in the background, and you have to step back and help these folks build their careers. There's a compound effect to it, and you have to just sit and wait for it to happen. I think that those were my biggest hurdles, like the me to the we and the compound effect. But I don't want to set anybody up for failure on the team. I don't want them to watch me just list 30 houses and they do nothing. So a lot of them are doing houses with me. If I can refer it, I give it to them. You know, there's a lot of less than kind people in the marketplace, and they'll see a listing come on and it'll have a team member's name first and then mine. And then they'll go around town and say, oh, she steals all their listings. Well, if you looked at the history, I sold them the house. Clearly, I'm not stealing my team's listing. I'm giving or sharing or helping them grow. But you know, you put on your blinders and you just move forward, because teams are the future. My husband and I are also looking for another home, and I wouldn't work with a solo agent. Are you kidding? We're demanding. We want people all the time ready for us. You know, how could you do it? My agent actually is in California right now, but he could accommodate the showing today in Connecticut if I wanted it, right? So, so those are a lot of the reasons and the important facets to running it that really matter. Culture is key, but it's great to have culture, but if you're not giving, if there's no proposition for your team members, you know, branding, gifting, all that you're covering, marketing, why should they be there? They're going to say, well, my split, I get a higher split as a solo agent. So you have to give them a reason to be on the team. And then you have to have a reason to have them on the team. I am so fortunate. I have like the greatest group. And we're all, as much as we love to go out to dinner together, and we do very often, and we do a lot of stuff together, we're all in it really also to feed the families and to deliver great service. So that's my little stump.
I just have to say something on off of that. It wasn't always that, you guys, because I saw Francie. I was here when Francie, I think you were here a little bit before me, Francie. You were here before me. And then I came on to Westchester. And what I have to say is that we're looking at Francie now, and we're seeing her in the catch, and we're seeing this perfect team. But I have to tell you, more than not, Francie was hitting her head against the wall. Right? So she was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. This is not the right person. How many assistants did you go through, Francie?
That was the only issue I've ever had, assistants. I went through many. And one of my, actually probably not one of my worst, is one of my best agents, Melissa. It just wasn't the right role for her, but God bless that, you know, she also left a 1990s brokerage to join me, and she's like the backbone of the team in many ways. So I went through many assistants. In terms of agents, I've been very, very, very lucky. I do lead with my heart, and I do a terrible job of interviewing, but my team and agent success at the time, I think they were called, that's what they were called then. They would step in and say, you're not interviewing alone, because I would just hire anybody. I'm a schmuck. But now you can't approach me and say, I want to join your team without like 10 people standing in the way saying, okay, now we're going to meet with you.
Awesome, Francie. I think we only have Skye until 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we could.
It's all good though. But I think the lessons I want to pull from Francie, number one, Francie hired the right person to build systems. And Francie, as much as your team probably loves the dinners, loves the branding, you know what they really love? Your systems. And one of your big call outs is the fact that you hired someone who could build the systems. And when you said you ran through assistants, you probably hated your team at times when you were building it. And one of the key things we need to remember, you have two components to your business, operations and sales. And you got to find the best. And there is not a good team out there that does not have a strong person running operations. And you have Trevor, he's running operations for you. And that has given you the freedom to be who you are and build what you built and be the leader you are. No good leader exists without good support. The second call out I want to put out there for all of our individual agents on the call, it is possible to build a team without a team at Compass and only at Compass. So if you're an individual here on this call, most of our regions at this point have contract to close. That's an example of having a team without a team, right? You can hire, I'm looking at like Mark Silver, for example, on the call, like one of my agents from Philly, like he's starting to build his team, but before he got there, he had a team without a team because of the fact he hired transactions to do his contract to close, where there are third parties out there. You can have a group of individual agents that are sort of aligned, but not on a team, that support each other, that go back in your why. So any individual agent on the call, don't feel like you have to build a team, but you can build the concepts of a team within the beautiful structure we have at Compass here as well. So I just want to reinforce that. Yeah, Sophie, so great example. Like you can build a team without a team as well, if that's what you desire, right? And I think the final lesson I want to pull from Francie is leadership. Francie, at the end of the day, knows who she is. And she is a leader. Leadership is not the person that's out in front, yelling, screaming, shouting, etc. Leadership is often silent. And I bet there's not a person on Francie's team that doesn't understand what Francie desires, what her values are, and what she wants, and then doesn't want to live up to that. And I was just at a leadership training for 2 days. And one of the quotes that blew me away is accountability is a crutch for bad leadership. And I've never heard that before. Because in my mind, I'm always like, oh, I'm a leader. I got to keep people accountable. And the line was, if you're a great leader, people know what they're supposed to do and they do it. If you have to hold them accountable, there's usually a flaw in your leadership. And it blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. And I just wanted to, like, Francie, your story is so powerful and there's so many great lessons from it. And I just want to reinforce to everyone on this call that there's this pathway, that what you see today, and Francie's, the beauty of what she's built was not a straight line all the way up. And for everyone on this call, you're going to go forward, you're going to take steps backwards, you're going to make mistakes, etc. And the bottom line is, Francie, I know exactly who you are because of the fact you're such a strong leader and you're such a strong personality, what you believe in and the way you care about people. And everyone on your team now is following through on that. Francie, if there's one thing, let me ask this one question before I go. What is one thing you feel like you need to improve upon within the team? Like if you looked at those four walls, right? It sounds like systems are dialed in. Culture, I know, is dialed in. Structures dialed in. Is there any area you feel like you need to improve upon or be more aware of? Or do you feel like?
I think when you're a team leader, especially in real estate, you end up getting involved in your team members' personal lives a little more than you would in a business environment. Like when I was in like the Federal Reserve Bank and finance, people wouldn't talk to you about their lack of childcare and et cetera, or their personal things that were affecting their business. And I think I get a little too involved in that, and the team, we all get involved in each other's, but it's hard because no one wants to work weekends and no one wants to work this life. So when you're accounting for that for one and not the others who are getting full-time care or leaving their kids, it's a little bit of an imbalance. I'm trying to pull back a little on that stuff.
Yep.
That's my flaw.
Great. Well, and I think the biggest thing as a leader too is understanding what your responsibilities are. Your responsibility is not to be their mom, even though that's your natural tendency. Your responsibility is to teach them how to build structure. And maybe you debate, okay, is there a value add of pulling someone on? What are the things that are a challenge right now? Oh, it's showings. Is there maybe a showing agent you could hire for the team? I'm not recommending this to you. I'm just saying, you always want to imagine yourself, you're climbing a mountain with no top. You're never going to get to the top. So you always got to focus on the climb and enjoy the climb and be like, all right, what am I going to improve upon next? What am I going to improve upon next? So Francie, for you, it's probably a little bit of like, how do you be a great leader and a caring person and address like some of the challenges without the guilt of not being able to solve their problems? Right? That's going to be probably and that's a huge lesson for everyone on this call that has a team, is you're responsible for providing solutions, but you're not responsible for making everyone the happiest person in the world.
Hey, Skye, before Skye goes, I want to mention something, and I keep bugging him about this ever since I've been a 6 a.m.er, and those that aren't 6 a.m.ers. Skye's writing a book about teams, and give us a quick update, and I'm sending my $500, to you now, so I can, pre-order whatever you're doing.
So I've hired a book writing coach. I hired a book writing coach like probably about 3 months ago, and we're actually starting to make some progress. So it's fully outlined, and the writing is in progress. I'll say the really revised timeline is probably most likely October, if I'm being realistic, just because of now that I'm sort of transitioned and I was sales manager and doing a lot of what I'm doing now, but with just the one role I'm doing, I'm hoping I can dedicate a little more time to it. You're going to see previews of it in a lot of teaching and training I'm doing. So you'll see it. The other value add as well, we're building into Compass Core. One of my biggest struggles as a team leader was training my team. So something you guys are going to hear about is we are going to launch a how to train your team using Core in Q2. So if you sign your team up, if you participate in this program, your team signs up for Core. And even if you should too, but you don't need to. And then on Friday, you're going to get an emailed resource based on the lessons we taught in Core that Thursday, that you could you could literally forward that email to your team. You could take the ideas and put in your own words, but we really want to give you a resource to help you train your team. So Francie, if you have like newer agents on your team and it's like, oh my God, I gotta, it's hard to train each one individually. Hopefully this will give you a little tool. And while I know I just said accountability is a crutch, we're going to give you a little bit of fun things you could do with your team, like a challenge for the week, a social media post everyone could do, so we're in the process of building this out. And also Tony, for like sales managers to help us as well. So it's like, hey guys, here's a great thing based on Core, and where we really want to take this Core program and try to build it out into something that's special. So if anyone has any ideas, we're working on a couple other things you guys don't know about too, that are that I'll just put it like this, that are going to be geared around likely to sell. So stay tuned. Perfect. Keep an eye on your
Skye, one last thing. Will you come back again and talk to us? And I want Francie, if she'll stay on, and Tony and Fritz, I want to talk about different team structures. Like, I know that Francie has a team where she's the rainmaker. Then there's other kind of teams where they're all principals. So maybe like in the next couple of months, I know you're super busy, you'll be able to come on. Right. Because we also want to talk about exit strategies, right? Because we don't want to be doing this for the rest of our lives.
I'm going to give you 1 minute, and I run late all the time, so I'm sure by 9 o'clock.
Cool.
All right, really quick. I coach to shapes instead of large team, small team, tiers, tier 1, level 1, because when we start talking in tiers, like level 1, level 2, level 3, if anyone knows my former brokerage, we had 7 levels. There's all this shame that comes with like, oh, I'm a small team. We saw it today. I'm an individual. Right? There's shame associated with it. So what I came up with is, and this is in the book, by the way, this is the way of describing structures of team as shapes instead of levels or tiers or whatever it might be, because there's no shame in being a circle, a square, a triangle, or a diamond. So I don't have time to run through all of these, But just to give you a little preview, Stacy, I'll come back on for sure and we can dive deep into these to give you a little preview. But I want to really, one of the main goals of this, the way I describe teams is let's get rid of the shame, the judgment, I should, right? Because we feel like we should have a team. No, if a team doesn't work for you, don't have a team. I feel like I should be a big team. No, you might be thrilled just having a small team, right? So we want to get rid of like judgment and shame around this topic and dial into what works for Skye Michiels, what works for Francie, what works for Russell, etc. And that's the only thing that matters. So sorry, I get a little passionate.
Amazing. Thank you so much,
All right,
Skye,
guys,
for
thank
coming
you so
on.
much. I appreciate you all. Tony, thank you.
Good to see you.
Francie, great job. Can't wait to see everyone in person.
Thank you,
Thank
Scott.
you, Skye.
Thanks, Skye.
Bye.
Stacey, can I just add one more thing?
Please do. I love it.
For all those solo agents out there, you are a team. When I said I wouldn't work with a solo agent, I mean the 1990s broker that's, you know, I don't want to call one out in Westchester because that's not right. We don't disparage our colleagues, but you have agent success, the Tony Oakleys of the world, your CRM, your 33,000 agents in Compass Catch, which we were talking about before when we got on. That you're not a solo agent. When I say I want a house on a lake, somebody who's at Compass is a solo agent. They can write to 20,000 people and say, help me find this. Plus, when you're at Compass, usually other agents and other brokerages will answer your call because they want to collaborate with us. So you got to wear that. You have, what is it, contract to close, all those systems that make you a team. You have virtual assistants. You have all this stuff. So wear it proudly. You are the future of real estate. You are not 1990s. Sorry, that's how to say that.
No, that's cool. And you know, the truth of the matter is we have each other. Like this morning, I reached out to Laura Cutler. I reached out to Esty. Like we have each other. When I'm Francie, how many times? I mean, we're texting all day long, right? So there's Esty. Find yourself like somebody on here that could just, you know, whether it's just texting and getting ideas or whatever it is. Tony, chime in here.
I really love where the conversation's going, and it's important to know that even today we don't have enough people to join teams to help with their showings. Some teams are so big and have such big portfolios, they are scrambling to try to put people on their teams. What I've created in the West Side office is a collaboration between teams so that teams can help other teams, because not every team is working at the same level. And if you've got 2 or 3 people on your team that might not be as strong, that could use the extra money, you come to an agreement with that other team leader. They're not poaching, they're simply making money and working together. That's what this is. We're looking for a way to solve a problem. So let's work together and help each other doing that. I love this.
And
Tony,
Francie,
we use Ellen Schwartz as an agent who's amazing. We use her as a showing agent all weekend long when she's not busy. She's wonderful. Ellen's great with it. We pay her. Exactly. This is like
we're with Andrew. Yep, yeah. Andrew loves to help people. Francie, quick question for you. There's that test. What is the test when people are coming on your team that we talked about?
DISC.
The DISC. There's something else though, Francie. What was the other one? Do you remember? Cheryl, are you on here, Cheryl?
The sheet that we fold in half? No.
What's it called, Bob? Clifton. Oh, the Clifton strengths. The Clifton. Yes. So that's another one that I heard was great. Does anybody have any experience with either one? I know you use the DISC. Does anybody have experience with the Clifton? Melissa, you?
No, I use the Buffini one. They do a personality profile.
Yeah, and I'm like Francie. I'm no longer allowed to interview anybody. So they have like literally Andrew and Bob will not let me because I go off of, oh, I like you so much, join my team. Then they join the team and I'm teaching them and I'm aggravated now. I'm like, I'm taking my time to teach you. You're showing up late. So Mark, go ahead.
Sandy's on the call right now. I had the help of the Saprini Consulting Group to hire Sandy. And they had her do 2 different personality tests. One was, I think, just the DISC, and then they had a Keller Williams one, which was incredible to look at. And it really like measured all different aspects of her personality and her strengths. And it really helped us choose.
Can you share?
I can share the Saprini Consulting link. Yeah. And so they were great because they took multiple, they launched our ad. They took multiple candidates. They funneled us in. We had a 30-minute preview of like their interview, which I wasn't a part of. We got to select down to 3 or 4 people. We had a follow-up interview with them where I was just a fly on the wall. I got to hear all these great questions and hear the responses. And then we got to be involved. So it was like a 5-interview process, I think 4 or 5 interview process. And the last one was like an hour long. And like I had 2 great candidates in the end. We chose, I think, the right one, obviously, because we love Sandy. But you know, it was just a really great process to help, because I had never hired before, and so it was kind of intimidating to try to just take on somebody you don't really know, and to have that much of an in-depth process where you also got 5 references or more from their friends, from their current or past work employees, was just really, really valuable for me. So I'm happy to share. My experience with them was great.
Mark, what's the cost for something like that?
I think it was $5,000.
$5,000.
I think so, but think about the return on investment of getting somebody that's not going to work for you, I guess, you know, like, and there's also
100%
ongoing training. So I'm also paying for a monthly training where Sandy's like interacting with tasks and how to sort of be prepared for real estate tasks. And, you know, I get follow-ups with their work. So she's got homework going on underneath while I'm not focused on actually training her. And then as I'm sort of going through my daily process, I'm going to be working on this today. I want you to be a fly on the wall while I write my contract. She's also getting her license, which is a part of the requirement of our contract. So she's, you know, she's doing a lot. And I wouldn't have had her get her license without Saprini saying, get your admin licensed.
Yeah.
So I
think that's a must also. I 100%, Mark, and Francie's shaking her head. I personally wouldn't hire anybody again without their license, because I think that's a huge thing. And I just want to go back to Francie for a second. Francie?
Before you go forward, when Tony was here, when Compass had talent for teams, which got me Trevor, it was $5,000. You split it with Compass, so you pay $2,500 for them to do it. There's rumors that maybe they're going to try beta testing something again, but anyway, so 5,000 I think is pretty typical. It was the best move I ever made.
I was going to ask another question, but I forgot. Does anybody want to unmute and ask questions about, you know, to Francie about a team? I mean, I know this is like one of the biggest subjects lately. Obviously, we have everybody asking to bring Skye on and Francie to talk about it. So does anybody have any questions?
And while you're thinking about it, like what Tony said, just doubling your presence. So having someone you could refer to or show for you, or the virtual assistant who could be behind the scenes, right? Because as time is the last luxury, I wish I could say it like Leonard says it with his beautiful accent, but I now have, there's 18 hands. So I always say to my listing pitches, if you can't find me for some reason, there's, 16 more hands that are going to jump in. Our assistant is licensed too. So they, our sellers and buyers never get a no.
That was my question, Francie. So, so as far as like paying people, and you don't have to tell us how you pay because if that's personal, but some people like to give a 1099 and some people, because they're real estate agents, like to give a percentage of commission. How do you do that, Francie?
So also I wanted to say one more thing. My team did agree recently. We used to not pay each other to cover, and it gets awkward after a while, favors. So we did agree to actually like a $50 per house, and I think it's $25 per house after that, $250 to cover inspection. Time is valuable for everybody. So those, just articulating costs between the team is also very helpful. Our team manager is a 1099. I do not have him based off of the team take, in part because I've told him, like, obviously last year was a banner year. Maybe this year might be a banner year, but he would not be responsible for the team's income dropping. He works, his anxiety drives his work ethic, and he's always working. So I don't want him to go up and down, but we do bonus him very significantly based on just thanking God that he shows up every day. But he makes 6 figures. I mean, he makes a very serious salary. I mean, he has a master's as well. He's 27, but he's
sell him to me. He's my favorite person in the world.
Right.
But did that change, Francie? Did you start off? I know at some point you and I talked about maybe paying on a
5% of team take.
Correct.
A lot of New York City, Tony would know this the best. A lot of city agents do it based on team take. It's very common in the city. And I think it's a great way to do it. One of my friends got really burned last year with a record year. I mean, he deserved it, but he made like very significant money. So there's no right or wrong. Tony, what do you think about this?
Oh, I think Tony's
got a call.
Fritz, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, Fritz, I don't want to get caught with like 5% of, like I'm just throwing this out there, but like 5 million GCI, 5% is a lot plus a base salary. It's a lot of money. At some point, you're paying him more than you're paying your agent or the agents are getting.
Fritz, what are your thoughts?
Just as Francis said, whatever works for somebody, there are no right or wrong ways here. Like the percentage of the revenues of the team, has a potential for a huge upside, but also for a huge risk when, in the downtime, so that people who are, not maybe directly involved in bringing in business, selling in, they kind of suffer the fate of the team, but they also the benefit, from it. One of the things that I got away from the call today is what Skye says, and I really admire him. I really love his teaching, during the core. His teachings were phenomenal. The structure and the communication is so important. I have seen so many teams fail because the team leaders who were forming the team, they really couldn't articulate really well what they want from the team members. I've seen super power producers who were single agent power producers. They were building the team, and they were changing team members like every 3 months, every 4 months. People were coming and going because there was a disconnect of what they were expecting from them and what they then end up asking them to do. They would hire really bright younger people who were looking to grow their real estate career, and they end up doing completely paperback work for them for the agents. And I didn't agree to that, and there was like a lack of communication on this. To Francis' point of the size of her team, there are some people who really love being and having big teams, and they enjoy managing people. I remember a team from my former company. They were like 12, 13 people. They were doing like, I don't know, 120, 150 sales a year, but everything was really structured really, really well. I didn't quite fully understand Skye's concept about accountability. Maybe I didn't listen very, very carefully to this, but that particular team, for instance, would have a huddle every single Monday. And the team leader, who was absolutely one of the most powerful team leaders that I have met in this industry, held them accountable in the same way as he would hold himself accountable. They were basically coming together every Monday, and every person had to call 10 people a day. And everybody was kind of reporting on the progress of generating business, because his whole idea of having a big team is that 10 people would generate way more business than 10 people individually. That was the whole concept. I've seen agents who are $1 million producers who just don't have talent to be a team. They don't like being a team. They would hire, one of my top agents would hire somebody, and it was never a team. It was all about her, and her only requirement for that team member was stay quiet, just show the property and don't open your mouth. I mean, it was demeaning, and she found people who were actually agreed to that because they needed money and they were doing. But she just didn't trust anybody to any degree that whatever they would say to her was detrimental, and she hated managing people. To your question, Stacy, about structures, I think it would be very good discussion maybe for one of the future calls to talk about partnerships. I had agents come to my office and say, I like this agent here, and we are thinking of forming a team. And that agent was of the kind of equal size, equal experience, and it was clearly going into the partnership team. So we can talk about what are the pitfalls of partnerships. Why partnerships work and why some of them just collapse after 2 or 3 months. They would be like,
I would love that, Fritz. I'd love that. I think what we should do, guys, and you could tell me if you want to do this, at the end of every month, I'd like to get somebody on, whether we're talking about teams, whether we're talking about, so whatever you're interested in. I think let's continue teams next month at the end of the month. Let's hit on it, because not everybody wants to form a team, so I don't want to bore you. This is like Monday morning motivation, and it is ninja style, but I do think that it's worth continuing this dialogue, and there's a lot more to talk about. And I'm so grateful, Francie, for coming on and saying yes, like you always do. And I appreciate you. You are you
We
know,
appreciate you and Tony. And wait, did anybody catch Skye's quote, accountability is the crush of bad leadership? Was it?
Somebody wrote crutch.
Crutch.
Thank
Crutch.
you. Okay.
Accountability was the crutch. Yeah.
Okay, that's much better.
And then structure could be comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? That's a good one.
That.
When you get on it and you watch like Aaron Kruger's team or Francie's team and they're all marching together and they're all hugging and kissing and you're like, oh my God, I'm alone. You're not alone.
So comparison is the, what'd you say?
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Thief of joy.
By the way, someone who was also very impressive, I'm sure Fritz knows, Dana Green. If you don't have her systems that she did, and she's a Compass agent out in California, everything is systematized. Just reach out to me. I can try and share you her Dropbox. Everything is systematized. It's like,
I'll reach out to Francie and grab that, and maybe I can add it onto Workplace.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if she'd want that, but individually.
No, okay. So no, on our private workplace. Okay, no,
yes,
individually.
Yes.
Okay, okay, because it is private.
Yes.
By the way. So guys, thank you so much. Just so much energy. Tony, I know you missed the end, but it was amazing. Fritz jumped in with some great insights. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being on the call. I appreciate you all. Have a fabulous day. Oh, by the way, we're opening Stanford Thursday. So if anybody wants to come, Francie, come. Tony, come. Fritz, come. Get on the train. Yeah. So 12 o'clock.
Okay.
I would just die to see everybody in person again.
I'll be there.
Mark Silva, get on that train.
I'm there.
All right. Everybody have a fabulous day. I love you.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Let's kill it. Bye, guys.
Monday.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I don't want to hang up until everybody says goodbye because that's rude. I'm like cutting people off. Laura Cutler and Ira and Esty. Do you guys, Ira, we're gonna meet you on Friday.
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to take the 2 o'clock train from Penn Station and get off at Stanford about 2:45.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll meet you. Hold on, I'm just gonna let my dog out. We'll meet you. I'll pick you up, and we'll solidify this. But I'll pick you up at the train, and then bring you back to my office. And Laura, we'll all meet at the office, and then we'll walk to have coffee.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, we'll wait to see you, Ira.
Okay.
Have a great day, guys.
See you soon. Bye.
Andrew,
Bye.
we'll see you at the office. Bye, guys. Thanks, Laura.